Hej, z tej strony Michał. Być może znacie mnie z wywiadów tekstowych. Moja zajawka do sportu sprawiła, że oprócz pisania zachciało mi się również mówienia. Zapraszam Was do słuchania Michał Winiarczyk Podcast, gdzie rozmawiam z ludźmi sportu i nie tylko, o ich życiu, największych lekcjach, bolesnych porażkach czy momentach szczęścia. Gościem dzisiejszego odcinka jest człowiek, którego można nazwać Wilfredo Leonem agentów siatkarskich. Matijasevic za młodu próbował swoich sił w tenisie. Z czasem przeniósł się do świata volleya, który był mu bliski ze względu na ojca. Dziś zajmuje się interesami m.in. Michała Kubiaka, Jenii Grebennikowa czy Nimira Abdel-Aziza. Choć dla części środowiska jest postacią kontrowersyjną, to on sam uważa się za człowieka stawiającego dobro klientów na pierwszym miejscu. Hello, Mr. Matijasevic. It's a great pleasure that you find the time to join my podcast and talk about volleyball. I will start with the risky question. Am I speaking with the most disliked person in the volleyball world?
I don't think so, because the people that know me have a long-term cooperation and know that my word on them is clear, but definitely you cannot satisfy everybody in some negotiations. So for sure the people at times in the past, they were not happy with the outcome of the negotiation, maybe spreads some negative things, but the people that are working with me, overall the players and also the important clubs, know that they can rely on what we say.
You also as an agent can have a good relationship with the clubs, not only just with the players.
I am the kind of agent that respects the clubs a lot. We're definitely not in the best economy on volleyball. It's not comparable to football or richer sports. So I respect a lot the people who are investing in volleyball. So definitely these are, let's say, people of cooperation, but my main focus is on the player, is on the player's interest and what the player needs. So when you make that clear statements, at time you have different interests and you have to be strong on the player interest. That's kind of the reputation of the agency, and this is the reason why players like to feel strong and like to feel represented in a strong way, because the clubs have their interest, the player has his interest, and we're pretty committed to making good service for the player. At the same time, of course, we cooperate and try to be serious with the clubs.
What makes a good agent? What are the key things that a good agent should have?
I don't think there is one particular rule for the agent, but I would say that you have to build trust. There is no way you can be a strong agent if you don't have the big trust from the players, if the players don't recommend you. That's very important. At the same time, you have to be strong on the network that you provide for the player. It means why the player needs to hire you if you are not strong enough to make a contract for him in Brazil, in Poland, in Italy, in Qatar, in France. So the network is super important. And finally, your experience in contract negotiation, because outside of the trust that the player can have, you must be strong and much stronger than himself in order to negotiate for his interest.
I'm wondering if with volleyball agent job is like a snowball effect, that the more clients you have, the more the deal you made, the stronger your position you are and the better money you can make.
It's true. I mean, the world is small, so this trust moment is real, because the players are talking. The players in the locker room, they are talking. What's good for them, how is working their agent, and there's no secret. Basically, they're talking. So obviously, if someone is doing well for them and they're happy with their contracts and their representation, it means that they have the reach everywhere. It's obvious that they will recommend to their friends, to their teammates, and yes, eventually there is a snowball effect.
And why the guy who was the son of the good volleyball player chose tennis?
I was playing also volleyball when I was younger and playing football and tennis, and came time they told me, you need to focus on tennis, you're really good. And then I was pretty good in the junior days, and actually was the champion of Serbia in all the categories, youth, and it was kind of natural, and then when I finished university, I stopped tennis because I had injuries and I couldn't go to the top level. And then I was thinking what to do, and then totally naturally and by surprise, I started making some deals, and that's how it started. I was always following the house. I mean, in the house, we're talking volleyball. Following my father, I had ideas about volleyball market and stuff because he was coaching in the first league in France back in the day. That was like, we're talking about 2002, so a long time ago. But yeah, tennis was just my first love, let's say.
But you moved so early from Serbia to France. You were, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years old or something like that?
Yes, because my father was the setter of Yugoslavia national team, and he had a contract in Paris, and he moved there, finished career there, and basically we grew up in France. Yeah, we were following, when I was small, we were following the job of my father. Like, that was, he was earning money to life, and we followed him as a family.
But you are thinking as a Serbian or as a French guy?
I think both my parents are Serbian, and I'm pretty attached to Serbia. But I must say that I grew up in France. Like, I spent most of my life in France, so naturally you acquire, characteristics and habits. I'm just trying to catch, whatever is positive on both culture.
And when it comes about tennis career, because even I found some stats from your career that you were like about the 1,500, 1,700 position in the ITF ranking, so that means something. Do you have a chance to play against somebody who later become a good player?
Yeah, I mean, as a junior, I beat a couple times. I don't know if you remember this French player who was like top 10 in the world, like Arnaud Clément.
Maybe.
I was playing against Tommy Haas.
Yes.
In some difficult games, I lost every time to him. But yeah, I was beating some players who later, became top 50 in the world or top 20 in the world. But then very early, I got injured and kind of didn't make it to the top level.
And how you remember your time in USA? What the time in USA teach you, help you in today's job?
It was amazing. I mean, that's the biggest thing that helped me in my job, because this American mentality about having no limits, being transparent, being direct. They're teaching you a good way of doing business. That motivated me a lot. Listening to different CEOs who made presentations to us as we're studying, it was really, say, everything is possible. I mean, doing some company is realistic. And that's how I started, straight up. When I finished university, I set up my company.
Do you remember your first deal you made in volleyball?
Yeah, I remember, of course. It was like, the first one was like a Division 3 player that I earned 300 euros on the first commission. But let's say that the first real one was some players in my father's team remembered me when my father left from that club where he was working. It was Beauvais, first division club. And then these guys remember me, and they called me and they were like, there is nobody, we don't know how to speak to the president. Can you help us out? And basically the big step, the first thing that, got me into this job is that all of them doubled their contract. So they had someone really fighting for them. And they were like, wow, they're happy about this thing. The presidents had a big power. There was no agent, and they were trying to sign players as low as possible. And then these quality players doubled their contracts. And then came like 15, 20 new players who heard about it, and that's how it started.
Do you remember the moment that you realized, okay, this is what I want to do in my life?
After 1 year, when you started having national team France players coming to work with me, and then I started, every single 1,000 euro that I would earn, I would buy plane ticket, I would pay hotel room to meet the people in Poland, in Brazil, in Italy. And for 1 or 2 years, every single money that I made, I put back to have money to travel. And then I started building networks, signing more players, building cooperation with other agents. And then I realized, I'm going on the right direction.
How does volleyball market change since the beginning of your time still today?
I would say that it's much more global. Back in the day when I started, we had to send like the CDs, or I don't know if it was VHS back in, but we had to physically send the stuff. We had to send international transfers by post office. Everything now is more global, and you can reach globally any club, and players have much more information. I think one of the reasons is technology and also agents, because players have more options. Back in the day, the French player played in France most of his life, and then when they started having options in France, in Italy, in Italy, in Poland, in Turkey, then they started being more open. I would say it became more global. It's much more common to have a player move countries. That's the big change that I see. And also, I must say that the sport became more professional. Structures of the club have developed. We see, for example, in Poland now one amazing level of popularity and professionalism. In Italy, they always had professionalism, and they had the big history about volleyball and culture. But step by step, also, is in France, the clubs are becoming more and more professional. I would say it's going on a good way, in my opinion.
So today is easier or harder to be an agent than 20 years ago?
Today is very difficult. If a guy starts alone, it's almost impossible. Like he has to join an agency. When I started, I was fortunate that there was not so many competition. There was many space. There was many players without agents. Why a good player would give his career to the hands of someone that doesn't have experience or is starting, it's very difficult now for a guy to start from zero, to start alone. It's almost impossible.
At the beginning, you told about the fact that the volleyball market isn't economically strong as, for example, the football or basketball. What is the reason that the money in volleyball isn't as good? I don't want to compare to NBA or Premier League, but I just, for example, to the strong basketball European leagues. That even, I don't know if it's true that even today the most paid player is a woman in the Turkish league. I don't know if it's true.
Well, I think the highest paid player in the world is one Polish guy, and actually one of our clients. And second, the reason why there is not enough money on the volleyball is difficult to explain. I think the popularity of football goes back like 100 years with full stadiums and big tradition. But I must say that volleyball is on a good way. All this branding that the FIVB is making with the VNL is starting to be a product. Reminds me a little bit about the EuroLeague, which is a product, or the NBA, which is a product. And I see more and more TV rights, more and more countries putting volleyball live, getting rights. I think there is still a big difference, but I think volleyball is on the right way. It's becoming more and more professional. I think in the roots, it was a university sport, or a sport that was not so much, say, commercialized. And now in the last 15 years, we're seeing a change step by step. But I think volleyball is on a good way.
But one of the facts that people mentioning often is that the volleyball has a strong position, but only a few countries. Maybe we are fooled by thinking that volleyball is popular, but it's only popular in the few countries.
I wouldn't say it's only popular in few countries. It's extremely popular in Italy, in Poland. In France, we're having like plus 30% of the number of people practicing volleyball since they became Olympic champion. In Brazil, it's always been popular, the volleyball, in the last 25 years. In Japan, volleyball is popular. In Korea, volleyball is popular. I wouldn't say it's only a couple countries. We see growing interest in Turkey as well, with some banks investing a lot of money into volleyball for their reputation, finding an alternative to football, to have a good image for their companies through volleyball, like Halkbank, Ziraat Bank, that are really organization on the level of Lube or Resovia, a really top level organization. So it's not only a couple countries, to be honest with you. We see like in smaller countries, one development of volleyball, obviously at a medium level, not on a top level, but we see in Romania and Czech Republic leagues that are having better money, more clubs with money, one professional league, more foreigners going. So I'm seeing a lot of improvements. It's not only a couple leagues.
So when you talk about these improvements, which leagues you can, apart of this Romanian or Czech, you can name as leagues that improved very much since last years?
France improved a lot. The French league is putting up some rules of professionalism to French league, and I think they're doing a great job. They're trying to keep the teams that became professional, that are working to find sponsors. France definitely is a league that is growing. Turkey has been growing. Poland, I think, reached another level compared to 15 years ago when it already started being a power. But now we're seeing results of Polish clubs, and we're seeing full gyms. They took another step, in my opinion, which is amazing popularity of volleyball in Poland. I would say Italy is a product that's also amazing. We have like some of the best players in the world playing in Italy. Japan is amazing. I'm going 2 or 3 times a year in Japan. They are loving volleyball. These companies are investing in volleyball. Korea is the same thing. I think volleyball is on a good way, but then, it depends on every country has, particular specific ways of financing. For example, we see in Poland the help of some national companies, which is great for volleyball. In Russia is the same thing. They have like big companies, national companies financing volleyball. In Italy, it's more like private companies, millionaires who are super enthusiastic. They're sponsoring the clubs. Every country has its particularity. In France, for example, we have like cities and regions financing a lot. Every country has its specific. In Japan, Korea, it's like large companies, Panasonic, Hyundai, Samsung, Toyota. These are the large companies who are investing in sports for their marketing, for their image. So every country has its particular ways of financing. It's kind of strange that in Holland we are not able to put a volleyball league. They have a big history, and Spain, same thing. They have a solid culture of volleyball. They are not able to find sponsor and a way of financing to have, more important clubs.
In Poland, we are discussing which league is better right now, the Polish or Italian. What are your opinion?
It's a really good question, and it's a question that is not easy to answer, because you have Zaksa winning the ultimate title last 3 years, and you have like Zaksa beating Trento, beating Perugia, you had Jastrzębie beating Lube. This season, 2 Polish teams in Champions League. It's really a difficult question. It's a difficult question. A really difficult question. So I would say that both leagues, when we tell players, when the players are asking us, historically, they have been pushing on the top level to play in Italy because quality coaches, quality organization, top league, top players to compete against. But Poland is amazing. A lot of clubs are working hard. The one thing that Poland is amazing is the number of Polish players. That's giving Poland the medium level that's super high. Like players who are not in national team are really strong players. In Italy, they don't have that. They don't have so many Italian players that are so strong. That's the advantage of the Polish league. In Italy, there are more stars. They are able to pay more. Some teams are able to pay more, so they're able to bring the big stars like Anderson, like Leon, like these kind of guys, the Czeko. But the Polish level of Polish players is just amazing.
And do you like idea that there's now 16 clubs in a league?
I think it's super difficult for the top clubs. They have to play 1 million games and national team for players. For sure, the big clubs would like to have less teams. But watching games, and even Zaksa and Resovia, they have to stay focused and push to win against a small team, because if they are playing like 70%, they lose. So I think the quality of all the team is quite good. Then, it's different interests, maybe the top teams would like to have a reduced league, so they play less games. But I think overall it's good quality. It would be strange if you have like 3 or 4 teams that are terrible or they cannot play, and that would be something to think about. But But now Zaksa, when he's playing against team number 14 or 15, they have to focus.
And do you see a difference between negotiating a deal with the Polish club and the Italian or Japanese club?
You know, on the negotiation, every club has its interest. Like whether you work with the Polish team or Japanese team, the bottom line is everybody wants to take Leon for free. You know? Everybody wants to take Kubiak for free. You know, but then you know, you bring them to a point that you know you have to work hard to make it happen. But I would say it's pretty similar. You need to understand that now most of the time you have professional people in the clubs, like professional president or professional sport director that is, you know, fighting for the interest of his club. And the interest of his club is to bring the best possible player in the world for the smallest money. Our job is to try to promote the player and bring them different offers from different clubs for the best possible money. So basically, it's a game of information, it's a game of leverage, and having a large entry and open doors in every single team in the world is giving us leverage, is giving us a lot of information and a lot of power for our players.
So what are the best teams in Poland to cooperating with you?
I must say that the president of Zawiercie is an amazing person that developed his company and his club from nothing. So I respect him a lot. He's putting his personal, you know, investments in volleyball, and he's super smart. And I think now he's one of the strongest team in Europe with the team that he built. I must respect Warsaw as well, who had a lot of different troubles, changes of ownership. And this guy, Gacek, is doing an amazing job of keeping it together and keeping it growing. And now they came to some important level. He had a lot of things to do in the last 5 years. I think there was, I don't know if many people would have managed to succeed, but I think now he's there, one of the strongest teams. You know, you have to respect these teams that are winning the Champions League and fighting. There is a new president in Rzeszów that is the hardest worker I've ever seen. He's just fighting for his club like crazy. So you have to respect that. I respect that a lot.
I have to ask about this. I mean, there's some controversies with the cases of Kevin Tilly, Mike Ma, John Perry in the recent years that they left their Polish clubs having a valid contract. And you were the agent of them. You didn't see any problem with the fact that they going to another clubs having a valid contract, because some people say that it's unethical.
I told you from the beginning, the guy who everybody likes is probably a weak guy. A guy that's loved by everyone is probably someone that doesn't have a strong standpoint and strong conviction. I told you from the beginning that when you are working for the interest of the player, you cannot make clubs happy every time. You try to be respectful. You try to explain them the situation. As I explained 1 million times, the case of Katowice with Mikama or Jastrzębie for Kevin Tilly, in the end, we fixed the situation of Kevin Tilly and Jastrzębie. We explain 1 million times, and in the end, you have to defend what the player wants. My client is the player, and I have to fight for what he wants. If a player has an interest to go somewhere else and is asking me to go somewhere else, clearly, I'm going to stand strong to him. And I am not the kind of guy to bend down under pressure. I had a lot of pressure in the Polish media from the Polish clubs, but my client is the player. I stay strong with this.
So you don't see the problem with the fact that players can go to another club having valid contract?
FIVB is the competent jurisdiction international transfer for a foreign player in the league. They allow you to go to another club, and they are letting the previous club, if there is no agreement, they're allowing the previous club to file for damage, but they are not blocking the player. They are going on the European law to say that every worker has the freedom to choose where he wants to play. Even though he had a contract or an agreement before, he's free to work wherever he wants. And the previous club has the right to sue the player in front of the FIVB to go after his damage. So I repeat again, on my position, if a client, which is a player, is telling me, I want to go there, you work it out, I don't care, I want to go, you're my agent, I have to do it. I have to stay strong and not go under the pressure and let my player go. You know, I have clubs, like I'm like telling them, explaining them, and they're like, yeah, but you need to work for us, you need to help us. No, it's not like that. I'm the agent of the player. I want to be respectful with you. I'm explaining you the situation. I'm going to negotiate on your behalf to get a buyout. But why do you want to keep the player if he doesn't want to stay there? Let him go, get a buyout. And at some times the clubs didn't accept it, and that's what happened.
And from the player and agent relationship, when you negotiating a deal with the players, talking with the players, how many of them prefer the good club, fighting in the good league for the trophies, than better salary?
You have different stages in your career. Like on the young player, we forbid him to think too much about money. We think development, we think work, we think coach, we think quality of the organization, and we think playing time. That's the mentality for the young player. The young player needs to focus on his development, that in a period of 2-3 years, he needs to make smart choices and work extremely hard to become important player. Once he become important players, I'm talking about Kubiak, I'm talking about Brizard, I'm talking about Grebennikov, Leon. Our clients who are on this level, when they come to this level, they want the biggest teams in the world and the biggest contracts in the world. So it's a different work. On the young player, we forbid him, we push him to not think about money, to think about development, to think where you can play, where you can work harder with a coach. And these are different projects, different objectives from different stages in your career, you know. Basically, I can tell you, like, I can give you example, for example, for Jenia Grebennikov when he was in France, and then what's the next step, you know, and the next step, our deal was to find the best coach in the world at that time. And at that time, there was a guy called Moculescu working in Friedrichshafen. He was one of the best coach for development in the world at that time. And we had him a 2 years contract with, you know, 30,000 euro less money than in Italy, for example. But he needed this step to feel more comfortable. And then he was ready, then went to Lube, Modena, etc., etc.
So you want to say that even you see sometimes better money, you give advice to young players, okay, it's not a good time to go there, you should go to another club and wait, work hard in 2-3 years, and then maybe we will try to give you a better deal somewhere else?
Every time, I mean, every time, every other day, I'm pushing now some young players that became our clients to think about volleyball, to think about how they can get better, to think about to hire some coach in the summer to work physically. This is the focus for the young player. The money is absolutely not the focus for the young player. And also on the career, like if you make smart moves for 2 or 3 years for no money, and then you become so strong that your value is like, I don't know, 300,000 euro per year. That's the smart player. If the player make wrong choices when he's young for 10 or 20,000 euro more, and then gets worse, and then after 3 years his value is 40,000 euro, you can make the calculation, because on 300,000 euro on the next 10 years, and 40,000, he made the most stupid steps of choosing 10,000 euro more contracts. That's absolutely wrong for the young player to go on the money until they become national team players.
I mentioned this thing because there is a myth about agents that they will sell the players to another club even they paid €1 more than anybody else.
No, that's bullshit. No, that's. I mean, I don't know all the agents how they're working, but I would assume that. I mean, what's the role of the agent is to think about the well-being of the player. You have to think about well-being of the player on a 10-year period. Like, Like in the beginning of your career, you want to protect him, and he doesn't know anything. I mean, a lot of kids don't know what it takes to become an important player, and your role is to give him examples of previous top players and which kind of road they made, you know. So why would you choose €100 bigger contract in a shitty situation with a shitty coach? You want to go for free to work with a coach like Lorenzetti or like Grbic or this kind of guy. You want to go for free for 1 year. You want to pay for 1 year and then get better and then triple your value.
You mentioned other agents. Do you have some agent that you are admire, or maybe you like their job? Even could we discuss about this thing, because I know that everybody's thinking about their own interest, but I know that this is a small environment, and at the top level you know each other.
Honestly, no. I'm really not focused on other agents. I'm really trying to focus on my personal development and the development of my guys, because we have like 5-6 guys in the agency and we're doing a teamwork. I don't have time, to be honest with you, to think about other agents. If you're asking me about my inspiration, yeah, definitely I was reading and studying the agency work in different markets, whether it's agents from Hollywood or agents in USA, from NFL or from NBA, where you have like literature. And I was studying that. I was never, following the volleyball agents and never really admired any other volleyball agents, to be honest with you.
I remember in 2017, after the Euro Volley, one of the Polish agent, Andrzej Grzyb, who was at that time, I think, agent of Wilfredo Leon, said that the reason that the Poland doesn't succeed in Euro Volley was that the top guys like Kubiak and Konarski was fooled by you, and because of you, the group and the squad were divided, and was a bad chemistry in the team.
That's a pretty creative thing. Obviously a joke. If you ask to the guys within the team, they will tell you it's a joke, and we shouldn't spend too much time because that's really a joke. Our job is to advise them to make smart decisions in their career. We don't interfere. We don't go on the national team stuff. We try to be super respectful of national team periods, and we don't go into any work. The players are between themselves and the coach and the national team. We don't have so much power to disturb the work of a national team. That's bullshit.
You have some players in your agency that play in Russia. You don't see a problem with putting them in Russia when there is ongoing war in Ukraine?
I mean, it's an individual choice, like you're a journalist in Poland and then maybe, you're not getting great conditions and someone is calling you to a different part of the world. It's up to you. It's personal decision. We shouldn't judge. It's personal decision, like what to do, like some people don't like to go. I've had offers that players denied, didn't feel comfortable about it. I heard some players like left when the war started, but it's personal. It's difficult to judge these players that choose to play in Russia. It's their job. I'm Serbian. I know how it felt, in 2000, like we had sanctions and we're not allowed to play in international competition because of the ongoing wars in Yugoslavia. It's like, why would you deny from someone who wants to play his passion? Why would you deny him to play his passion? He's not the one doing the war. The player who's going to Russia is a fan of volleyball, volleyball is his life, he's playing in a strong league. He shouldn't be responsible for these things, shouldn't be judged, whether it's correct to play in Russian league or not playing in Russian league. It's too much. I'm for sports and focused on sports. We shouldn't mix politics and sport. It's too heavy a subject. What does it mean? There is other countries who made wars in various parts of the world and they haven't been suspended. So what does it mean? Like, we shouldn't let their players play. We shouldn't play in this country. We shouldn't enter this country. It's too big of a subject, and we should not make it so simple. I'm definitely for sports. Whoever wants to play, and if he wants to play in Russia, it's his choice.
And could you tell me what was the story behind your help to Paris Volley in 2020? Because from what I know, you helped to save the team.
Yes, it was a historical team, 18 times champion, 4 Euro Cups, 1 Champions League, and basically 5 minutes from my house. I was there as a kid watching games. At that time, I had like 5 players in the team. When they announced that they're going to close the team, 5 days later, we're closing the team. We're out of money. We have huge debts, and that's when I came in and I was like, I made a call to the old president. He was like, "I'm done," and I was like, "But what's happening? How we can close a historical club?" And then he was like, "I'm out of money," and that's when I organized a group of investors who came in. And basically, with the authorization of the city of Paris, they wanted to save their historical club. In 1 week, I made some phone calls, got some people who were players of this club, like Antigua, Glenn Hogg, Nicolas Hogg, now is Brizard inside, and they became shareholders, and I bring them together to save that club. And this club now is back in First League, and I would say there was like a natural reaction to using some power and some contacts to make something good happen.
From what I found in your website, the current squad on your agency is you, Rajko Jokanovic, and your sister, yes?
No. Maybe we didn't update it, but no. We have Rajko Jokanovic. We have Xavier Capfer, is ex-outside hitter, French national team. He used to play in Kielce as a player. And Guillermo Hernan, he was the setter of Spanish national team. Win a couple of Euro Cups. He played in Poland as well. He played in Holstein as a setter. So we are like four agents in that first network. And then we are working with 5 or 6 super strong agents that are number one in their countries to have representation for clients who are playing in different countries.
And do you think the fact that they play volleyball at a good level helped them today in the job as an agent?
For these guys working with me?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is that all of them used to be my clients. I used to be their agent. So we had a good connection, and I trusted them, and I proposed them to work together. So yeah, definitely. I mean, as a player, you get to know. Also, you have an agent as a player, and you see how I behaved, when I was their agent. And then obviously you have a concept about prices. People, so definitely it's a big advantage to be. You have to be either an ex-player or be heavily involved in that sport to be able to work as an agent. My thing is totally different because I was like 22, but from my 5 years old that I was sleeping with the volleyball and following my father clubs and performances and stuff, I was also inside volleyball, so you have to be following that sport to be an agent in that sport.
Do you remember the best advice your dad gave you when it comes to the volleyball world?
Honestly, he gave me some phone numbers, and I would say I learned more by watching him. It was not a clear communication, but by watching him and watching what happened to his clubs, what happens to his relation with the presidents, with the players. That's kind of where I was watching and trying to pick up as many things. But the first thing, he was giving me the contacts because I started in the French league, and I was calling the clubs and I was like, hey, I'm trying to work as an agent, and in the beginning it was like, fuck off, who are you? You're a kid, don't call us, we don't need you. And then step by step, after 1 or 2 years, they started picking up the phone. Yeah.
And if you had the chance to improve something in volleyball, what would you change?
I think that there's 2 things that come to my mind. I would make the game shorter, because I'm having some fans that don't like to be there for 3 hours. They have to go to a dinner, or they have to move on with something. So having like maybe 3 hours games, they lose focus. So maybe try to change the rules to make it like inside 2 hours, for example. I mean, they're working on this by making it faster in between points. So that's one thing. And the second thing, I would definitely try to develop one product called Champions League, because we're seeing the TV rights and the real excitement is on the top level. We see EuroLeague basketball, which is a huge product, and that's pretty much like 95% of European basketball. And getting closer to the NBA, let's say, on the excitement, I mean, not as good, but I think the Champions League in volleyball is missing that kind of branding and that kind of elites. I don't know exactly what are the steps, but having a leader competition that everybody is dreaming, that all the players are dreaming to play, then TV rights would follow, then sponsors would follow, I think is important, because right now the Champions League is not so strong, it's not so exciting, it's not you play in Switzerland one game, it's a strange branding. You play in Poland, it's a different branding. You play in Italy, it's different. So I think it's some elites, like crème de la crème volleyball competition, which should be Champions League.
I'm a fan of EuroLeague, so great that you mentioned this thing, because I'm wondering if we could copy the format of EuroLeague in the volleyball, that to put only just like 12, 60 best teams in Europe, because we have, like you said, we have like the teams from Serbia or Slovenia or Bulgaria that, okay, Polish or Italian clubs come 3-0, 1.5 hour, that's it. Many people say that the Champions League starts from quarterfinals.
I don't know. I think EuroLeague is a private company, so it's out of the FIBA and the CV and traditional institutions. They're based on sports merit. So I don't know how it's possible to manage this thing because they're giving the opportunity for the teams that won, in their country to participate to the Champions League. Whether EuroLeague is a private company, is outside of the FIBA system. So it's different. It's not comparable. I think definitely CV is going to work in the future to make it more commercial, because I think the TVs are coming and the sponsors are coming when you have like a product. So I haven't studied the subject enough. I can't answer you.
From what I suppose that the job of agent is to be on the phone almost 24 hours a day. And I'm wondering how you combine, your job with your private life, with being a father of 2 kids. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, you have three kids, and a wife, and even the private life that you want to, I don't know, hang out or do something like a normal person. And how you handle this thing?
I mean, the big secret is to have an amazing wife. You have to have an amazing wife, and my wife is amazing and understands my job. Having a good relation with your wife is really important if you want to keep the family. But it's extremely difficult because I don't have time for anything else than my job and my family. Basically, I guess it depends on the level you want to work. I've had this kind of education that if you do something, you want to do it to win, and you want to do it to be the best you can be. So that's kind of the mentality, and that means you have to work a lot. You have to work a lot. Basically, you can choose to never answer your client, to don't answer your phone because you don't want to. You're tired and you're sleeping, and then you're gonna lose like 50% of your clients, Or you try to be transparent, try to answer everyone, try to push everyone, try to be there for the clients, and then usually you work good, But it's not easy. That's one subject that I'm working with my psychologist to try to find some balance, because also in our head, it's not always easy, because you have a lot of pressure from the market, and the family is super important, and finding a balance on an agent's life is not easy. It's not easy. For me, it's not easy.
So it's possible for you to have like 1 or 2 weeks of holidays and not answering a phone at all?
So far, it's impossible. Hopefully, I'll get better and I'll be able to do that. But so far, I'm honestly addicted and watching my phone every 1 minute, basically, to see if I have some message. And it's a bad habit because I'm not always there for the people that I'm talking with. But the job is like that, It's a lot of communication, a lot of information. a lot of engagements. If you want to be professional, if I want to be serious with you, I have to answer you. I have to give you feedback. And then you multiply that by 50,000 communications, and then you have to be there, Obviously, now we're working as a team, trying to have my guys really take care of one part of the job and be there for various tasks. But it's very stressful. For sure, if you want to be an agent, for sure you need to be ready to have a stress life, if you want to do it in a good way.
And at the end, what advice you today would give to the George who just make a first deal?
To be honest with you, I don't see, obviously you can make different choices at times, but the bottom line is that I've been working hard, I've been studying, I've been learning, I've been reading, I've been talking to people, talking to mentors, I've been respecting my clients, I've been transparent with everybody, I've been fighting and pushing, so I can't. Obviously you make mistakes, you make mistakes, but I wouldn't change much, to be honest with you. Like, I was young, had no idea, and just worked hard, down the road, like along the road, you learn stuff. So I wouldn't change. I couldn't give many more different advice. I'm trying to work hard, as I said, and that's the basic principle. I would tell to another kid, do your best and work hard. Don't do it just to do it. Try to do it the best you can to win. That's the mentality, and I did that. So that's the advice I would give to someone else.
I always ask the people I spoke with to name all-time favorite squad in volleyball. So you have to choose one setter, two outside hitters, two middle blockers, one opposite, one libero, and maybe one coach. From all time you can choose whatever you want, but you have to put, with short explanation, that your favorite squad ever. So let's start from the setter.
I have to say Nikola Grbić. Nikola Grbić was the ultimate leader. I was listening some podcast from some journalists in Serbia and talking a story about, I don't know, when they were in the national team somewhere. I don't know, it was Colombia, some games, or Venezuela, some pre-qualification, and they come to some dirty gym, and it was an important moment for the team. It was dirty, like all dust and super dirty, and nobody wanted to really, go down and stuff like that. And he was like, he would dive first 3 times in a row to show everybody that they need to be humble. And he had a huge respect from everybody. And for me, he was the ultimate leader as a player, so I respect him a lot. And it's an honor to be his agent as well.
And 2 outside hitters?
I love Kubiak. Kubiak is the ultimate example that size doesn't mean anything, but will, head, and balls mean a lot. He was a guy that was barely playing in 2nd division in Italy in the beginning of his career, and with hard work he started to become one of the best in the world. I think in a period of a couple of years he was the best in the world. Ultimate leader, I respect him a lot. He was able to carry Poland on his shoulder many years.
And another second outside hitter.
Second outside hitter. I love Giba. Giba had that crazy energy in the Brazilian national team, and I was surprised when I would watch Brazil win Olympics, World, everything. And guy was so emotional, so aggressive. I love these kind of players with character. I love Giba.
2 middle blockers.
Yeah. You have to go with Simon because he's just amazing on the technical and on the leadership skills. He's just amazing player.
And another?
To be honest, I really like, and I was always impressed with the level of play of Novakovsky. Maybe he was a little bit underrated. For me, he was the best in the world in one moment because his skills on attack and block, and the way he was thin and big and you would think that maybe he's a little bit slow, a little bit lazy, but man, watching him live, I was impressed. Like for me, it was in a period of time, he was just amazing on the level of blocking and attacking. You couldn't stop him.
Time to choose opposite.
I would go with Milkovic. I had the privilege to represent him on the end of his career, and I've never seen a guy with a character to win. Reminds me a bit of these great players who don't believe the other guys. They believe themselves and they want to win. I'll give you an example. Like his last season in Halbank, he was in the end of the career. He was not performing at the level, when he was Olympic champion, obviously. And they chose very early to change him for the following year. And then they were like, but please don't inform him. Don't inform him. And I'm trying to be transparent. And I told him, man, they're not going to keep you next year. And he was so upset and he was so angry that he found some crazy energy and totally changed his season and became MVP. And they were like, I don't know, position 5, and they were champion. And in the end of the season, he was like, what's up now? So I like this kind of player.
And libero.
Yeah, libero, you have to go with Jenia. Jenia is from another world. Is the only libero in the world that gives you, 1 or 2 points every set. That's saving one direct point that no other libero is able to save. So he's from another world. He sees stuff that people don't see so fast, and for the team is a guy with a smile. And every team that he played at, like Modena or Lube or wherever he played, they were like, wow, what he brings with the energy, and it's just another level. Is impossible. I think I don't know if there was ever, and if there will be ever another player like that.
And at the end, coach, and why would you choose Nikola Matijasevic?
Nikola is my father, and obviously that's the coach that I love the most because I love my father. For sure, he had some great results as a coach. A lot of teams, had the budgets number 11 and they got them to the Final Four or to the finals. He did a lot of important results in his career, but he's not the best coach in the world. He's not the best coach in the world. He's not my favorite coach. I cannot say that. In this time, one coach. I mean, I would say 2 coaches that are getting amazing feedback from the players are Grbić and Lorenzetti, because the guys from Zaksa had all the same feedback, like direct, honest, pushing us to the limits. And one guy from Zaksa, when I asked him, but why he's good, what happened, why you win the first Champions League? And he was like, he made us believe. And that was like a pretty important comments. And then for Lorenzetti from Italy and players playing with him, like Jenia, for example, he told me like, man, the guy taught me in every practice I'm learning something new. So on the technical and tactical skills, he seems to be super strong. That's what the players are saying.
Okay, Mr. George, big thanks for having time, for being a guest of my podcast. It was a great pleasure to hosting you and listening to your stories.
Thank you.